Imagine walking out to your garden on a warm, sunny morning, holding your cup of coffee, expecting to see the first vibrant green tomatoes or spicy chili peppers swelling on your plants. Instead, as you bend down, you notice a carpet of delicate yellow blossoms scattered across the dark soil. Your heart sinks. Your plants look incredibly healthy. They have lush, deep green leaves, thick stems, and they are blooming profusely. Yet for some mysterious reason, they just cannot seem to hold on to their flowers. Every single blossom that should have turned into a juicy, sun-ripened tomato or a crisp pepper simply dries up at the joint and falls off. Even worse, the few tiny fruits that do manage to set start showing a dark, leathery, sunken patch right at the bottom. It looks like a disease, a mold, or perhaps some insect attack. You water them diligently, you apply high-quality store-bought fertilizers, and you make sure they get plenty of bright sunlight. Yet the heartbreak continues. The young fruits remain weak, stunted, and eventually rot before they even have a chance to ripen. This frustrating phenomenon is something almost every gardener faces at some point, and it can make you feel like throwing in the towel. Most gardeners don't know this, but the root cause of this devastating issue is not an insect, a virus, or a lack of basic watering. The real culprit is happening deep within the cellular structure of the plant itself. It is a silent, invisible deficiency that starves the plant of its fundamental building blocks right at the moment it needs them most. When a tomato or pepper plant enters its reproductive phase, its demand for nutrients skyrockets. Specifically, it requires an immense amount of calcium. Calcium is the essential mineral that acts like the mortar between bricks in a building. It strengthens the cell walls, stabilizes the plant's internal transport system, and ensures that the delicate stems holding the flowers can withstand the weight of developing fruit. Without sufficient calcium, the cell walls and the rapidly growing tips of the flowers and the blossom ends of the fruit literally collapse. This cellular collapse is what causes the flowers to abort and drop, and it is the exact mechanism behind the dreaded blossom end rot. You might think the simple solution is to buy a bag of lime or calcium fertilizer and dump it around the roots. But what happened next surprised me when I first started researching plant physiology years ago. I discovered that even if your soil is packed with calcium, your plants can still starve from calcium deficiency. The problem is not always the presence of calcium in the soil, it is the bioavailability of that calcium. Plants cannot chew on solids. They cannot absorb minerals unless those minerals are completely dissolved in water and broken down into a highly specific ionic form that their microscopic root hairs can pull in. This is why traditional methods, like burying crushed eggshells directly in the planting hole, often yield disappointing results in the short term. The plants need help, and they need it immediately before the growing season slips away. Fortunately, there is an incredibly elegant, natural, and highly scientific way to solve this problem using simple kitchen scraps and a common household pantry staple. By understanding how to unlock the locked-up nutrients in everyday materials, you can create a powerful, fast-acting elixir that will transform your garden in a matter of days. To understand why so many home remedies fail, we have to look at the chemistry of what we put into our soil. For decades, seasoned gardeners have passed down the advice of saving eggshells, crushing them up, and tossing them into the garden. It sounds like the perfect sustainable loop. After all, eggshells are composed of almost 95% calcium carbonate. This is the exact same compound found in agricultural limestone. However, here is where the real secret begins. Calcium carbonate is highly insoluble in pure water. If you take raw, crushed eggshells and bury them in your garden beds, they will sit there virtually unchanged for months, and often even years. The soil microbes and natural acids in the earth will eventually break them down, but it happens at a glacial pace. If your tomato plants are dropping flowers today, they cannot wait 3 years for an eggshell to decompose. They need that calcium within 48 hours to save the current crop. To bridge this gap, we can use a simple kitchen science trick to mimic and accelerate nature's decomposition process, turning tough, insoluble calcium carbonate into a highly soluble, bioavailable form called calcium acetate. To begin this transformation, you will need to gather 2 to 4 clean eggshells. This is the step many people skip, but it is absolutely vital for the health of your plants. You must thoroughly wash the eggshells under warm running water. Make sure to remove the thin, inner organic membrane that lines the inside of the shell. If left behind, this membrane can rot, attract unwanted pests, and introduce harmful pathogens or unpleasant odors to your clean fertilizer solution. Once your eggshells are completely clean, let them dry thoroughly in the sun or on a warm windowsill. They must be bone dry before you proceed to the next step. Once dry, place the shells into a clean spice grinder, a coffee grinder, or a heavy-duty blender. Blend them until they are reduced to an incredibly fine, flour-like powder. This is a very important step that many people often overlook because they want to save time. When eggshells are left in large pieces, or even small crushed shards, the calcium inside is only exposed to our extracting liquid at the very outer edges of those pieces. This dramatically slows down the chemical reaction and severely limits the total amount of calcium that can dissolve into our final solution. On the other hand, the finer the eggshells are ground, the larger their total surface area becomes. By pulverizing the shells into a microscopic powder, we expose millions of tiny calcium molecules simultaneously. This allows our extracting liquid to react at lightning speed, unlocking and releasing the maximum amount of calcium possible. This is a fundamental principle not just in home gardening, but in the manufacturing of professional-grade mineral fertilizers. Smaller particles always react more easily, dissolve faster, and are more readily absorbed by living organisms. Now that you have your ultra-fine eggshell powder, it is time to trigger the chemical reaction that will make this calcium fully soluble. Transfer your fine eggshell powder into a clean, wide-mouthed glass jar. Next, measure out about 200 milliliters of high-quality rice vinegar or raw apple cider vinegar. Slowly pour the vinegar directly over the eggshell powder in the jar. Within just a few seconds, you will begin to witness a beautiful, active, scientific reaction. Tiny bubbles will rapidly form at the bottom of the jar and continuously rise to the surface, creating a gentle, fizzing foam. What you are watching is the acetic acid in the vinegar aggressively attacking the calcium carbonate in the eggshells. This chemical reaction breaks the strong molecular bonds of the carbonate, releasing carbon dioxide gas, which is what causes the bubbling, and binding the free calcium ions to the acetate molecules. The result of this reaction is calcium acetate, one of the most highly water-soluble forms of calcium known to science. Because this reaction releases a significant amount of carbon dioxide gas, it is absolutely critical that you do not seal the jar tightly with a solid lid. If you trap the gas inside a sealed glass container, the pressure will build up rapidly, which could cause the jar to crack or even shatter violently. Instead, cover the top of the jar loosely with a piece of breathable cloth secured by a rubber band, or simply place the lid on top without screwing it down. This allows the gas to escape safely while keeping dust, debris, and curious insects out of your mixture. Once the initial vigorous bubbling begins to subside, move the jar to a cool, dark, well-ventilated area of your home, completely away from direct sunlight. Let the mixture rest undisturbed for 5 to 7 days. During this quiet curing period, the vinegar will continue to work silently, extracting every last microscopic bit of calcium from the ground shells. After a week has passed, you will notice that the bubbling has stopped entirely, and a fine sediment may have settled at the bottom of the jar. Stir the solution thoroughly with a clean wooden spoon to ensure all the active components are evenly distributed. What you now hold in your hands is a super concentrated, professional-grade organic calcium elixir. However, because this liquid is highly acidic due to the vinegar, you must never apply it directly to your plants in this concentrated state. Doing so would severely burn the delicate roots and potentially kill the plant. To make it safe and highly effective, we must dilute it precisely. The magic ratio is 10 milliliters of your concentrated calcium solution mixed into 1 liter of clean, chlorine-free water. This gentle dilution ensures that the nutrients are delivered at a safe pH level, completely eliminating the risk of chemical burn or osmotic shock to the plant's delicate root system. Stir the diluted mixture thoroughly to ensure the calcium ions are evenly distributed throughout the water, preparing it for the final, crucial application steps. Before you take your freshly mixed calcium solution out to the garden, there is a small but incredibly important preparation step that will determine whether your plants can actually absorb this nutrient-rich drink. Walk up to your tomato or pepper plants and carefully inspect the soil around their bases. Remove any weeds, grass, or debris that might be growing near the main stem. Weeds are aggressive nutrient thieves. If you apply this high-quality fertilizer to a weed-infested area, those weeds will greedily slurp up the soluble calcium before your cultivated plants can get a single drop. Once the area is clear, take a small hand fork or hand rake and very gently loosen the top half-inch of soil around the root zone. Be extremely careful not to dig too deep, as you do not want to damage the shallow feeder roots of your tomatoes or peppers. Loosening the crusty top layer of soil breaks up any compacted dirt, creating tiny pathways that allow the water and minerals to penetrate deeply and evenly down to the active root system. Here is another secret that experienced organic growers swear by, and it is a rule you should never break. Never apply any liquid fertilizer directly to dry soil. If the soil around your plants is parched and dry, the roots are already under stress and their cellular membranes are constricted. If you pour a nutrient solution onto dry roots, they will absorb it too quickly and unevenly, which can lead to severe root shock, leaf scorch, and further stress. Instead, always water your plants with a generous amount of plain, clean water first. Allow the water to soak in completely until the soil is evenly moist and cool. Once the soil moisture has stabilized, the plant's roots relax, their transport channels open up, and they enter a state of optimal absorption. This is the perfect moment to introduce your soluble calcium. Slowly pour about 100 to 150 milliliters of your diluted calcium solution around the root zone of each plant. Pour it in a wide circle around the drip line of the plant, which is the area directly beneath the outermost leaves. This is where the active, hungry feeder roots are located. Avoid pouring the liquid directly onto the woody main stem or letting it splash onto the lower leaves, as our goal is to feed the roots, not wet the foliage. Timing is also a critical factor that can make or break your success. The absolute best time to apply this treatment is early in the morning, just as the sun is rising, or late in the afternoon when the heat of the day is past. During these cooler hours, the plant's transpiration rate is low and steady. This allows the roots to draw up the calcium-rich water calmly and distribute it evenly throughout the entire plant structure, from the main stem all the way to the tips of the delicate flowers. If you apply this simple organic recipe once every 10 to 14 days during the active flowering and fruiting stages, the results will become visible just days later. Within a week to 10 days, you will notice a dramatic transformation in your garden. The yellow joints of the flowers will become thick, strong, and vibrant green, holding tightly to the plant. The stems will grow noticeably sturdier, and the leaves will take on a healthy, robust sheen. Most satisfyingly of all, the newly forming fruits will grow perfectly round, smooth, and free of any dark, sunken rot. This incredibly simple, budget-friendly kitchen recipe allows you to bypass expensive, chemical-laden store fertilizers while giving your garden exactly what it needs to thrive. If you want to continue learning these highly effective, time-tested organic gardening secrets that help your backyard abundance grow bigger and healthier every single day, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I would also love to hear about your garden journey, so please leave a comment below, letting me know what you are currently growing and which country or state you are watching from. Connecting with passionate gardeners from all corners of the world is truly the best part of sharing these secrets. Thank you for watching, happy gardening, and I will see you in the next guide.